Welcome to AbilityMKE Now on River West Radio. This is Sue Roskoff, and we are here at AbilityMKE Now sharing and talking more and more about integration and about bringing people together, those that have disabilities and those that don't have a disability, together enjoying life here in the Milwaukee area. We all have different abilities. And here at AbilityMKE Now, we dive into this topic of diverse abilities. The concept of disability hits a wide range of possibilities. We could be talking about physical or mental disabilities, the deaf and hard of hearing community, blindness, chronic pain, mental health diagnosis, goals of substance use reduction, and the list goes on. We all have our own experience with disability, whether it's our own or with people we know or people we encounter in everyday life. Here at AbilityMKE Now, we break down the barriers and we celebrate the ability in all of us. We've had an amazing array of folks that have joined us recently, and one in particular that has had joined us, about a month and a half ago, is one that has made an impact on what's been going on here, actually in my own household. So a gentleman by the name of Phil had joined us and talked about an organization that he is working with and that he started, really. It's called Helpopedia. And it is a very big deal actually right now. And I want to dive in a little bit with what our experiences actually have all been and where we have gone with what Helpopedia is. And it is something that is very relevant and can apply to anyone and everyone. So Kurt is here with us tonight, and I definitely will be bringing him in to share some experiences that he has had personally with the organization. And but first, I'm just going to give a little background so you understand what it is and what we're exactly talking about. So Helpopedia, it's a lot like how it sounds as far as how you spell it. It's help, HELPIPEDIA. So a lot like Wikipedia, but helpopedia.org. And they are all about uniting, this is from their website, uniting a community of change makers so that no ask for help goes unheard. And I'm going to just read a part of this, what their mission is, what their purpose is, so that we are starting this conversation on the same page. So it says, our shared purpose: initiate and sustain a youth, family, and community education movement to provide our youth with endless opportunities that prepare them for greater success at work and in life. In doing so, each member achieves their personal and business goals, and as a co-op, we all benefit from the efforts of others. The colors and fonts that they choose, even on their website here, it says it has specifically designed to help our visually impaired friends with less eye strain. So just kind of a side note, that's something that is getting to be more and more common now that was not historically common, as people develop their own websites to actually do so with that in mind, so that it can be friendly to those who are visually impaired. And that's something that I think is going to be a more and more top of mind as people are creating websites and all that they do to get out even in the social media realm. So they are about sharing and caring community. Well, let me jump forward here. So that's kind of the backdrop of what Helpopedia is, and where they have made a specific impact here with where we are. Kurt, if you can come on and join us in this conversation. He has basically been spearheading a piece that is happening locally here in our school district. And we've been talking actually with our local school district, between the principal and principals and superintendent and whatnot, with what it would mean and what it could be to have our community more and more involved in the youth in our area, because we do have a lot going on that goes beyond what's actually happening in the classroom. We personally, for those who may or may not know, we have a daughter that is in junior high, and we are aware of a fair amount of what some might say is kind of normal activity as far as youth go, but truly bullying. There's a lot of bullying going on, and to the extent that we think there can be more that can be done about it. And that is the backdrop of how we've actually moved forward here with Helpopedia and trying to develop what their role can be and what their presence can be moving forward in our community here. So Helpopedia typically has more focus on just in general moving things forward with how am I going to move forward in my educational career? Do I want to go into college? How do I make decisions? How do I know what questions I don't even know I should be asking? They've had a lot of focus in that realm, but what they do actually goes even beyond that. To the point that actually a week ago they had an educational resource fair that took place virtually using Zoom, and that was one of the breakout rooms in that. Actually, Kurt was the moderator for that breakout room, and that's where, Kurt, I'm going to bring you in. I know I'm kind of hitting a couple of different things here, both something that's going on locally and also with what they are doing on a even broader scale. So Kurt, are you able to come on in and share a little bit more about your experience and what you've all done with the organization, including what took place just this last week with the resource fair? Over to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Sue. Yes, exciting stuff going on. This Helpopedia Flare is taking off like wildfire. And yes, it was a great event. We helped some people already understand more expanses of their experiences with special needs and need for accommodation, and looking at the layout of their experience, kind of wondering where to turn to and how to go about it and who's available. So really that's the key, is the directory of it all and mapping the people and marketing, to really have in position that when there are people who want to help, and with the passion of Helpopedia, making sure that no call for help goes unanswered. It is a very constructive format where we're getting the students together and the parents together and the service providers together, and getting everybody into the same conversation about where the high school experiences are going and the collegiate experiences, and the financial ramifications, just life story elements in terms of giving something a try, and then if it doesn't work, kind of how people can make shifts and do the best you can to have that foresight for factors and head it off at the pass that we're seeing what to do and how. And I was there representing the disability channel, sharing what we do here at River West Radio, with show business and podcasting, vodcasting, getting the voice out. My passion in all of this, because that's what I experienced out around Milwaukee County, Waukesha County, around southeastern Wisconsin on the national level. Really, when you dig into it, it's a global, construct where, it is a regular challenge that there's a lot of services, a lot of resources, and it kind of, for leadership, pillars of society and so forth, leaves everybody where, there's just a satisfaction, which is great, great to celebrate all that stuff. But really, when you explore the whole roster of people and all of the people that could be served, there are some people that fall through the cracks. So when you're dealing with disability advocacy, disability services, this ability conversation, folds right into civil rights and civil advocacy. It deals with our culture, our customs, and we hear it all the time in schools, where school administration and teachers are being challenged all the time. This element of bullying is there, and it's kind of like what to do. So somebody sits at home and just knows, it's got to be better, should be better. So there's this healing that needs to take place around the world, and people experience it right in their backyard, with the school serving their children, or with a child being a student at the school, and just like wondering, why life has to be so tough. And then the teachers and administrators and people around the school situation, nobody wants to be the bearer of bad news. Nobody wants to be the one to, chop it off and say we're done. So then what do we do? And this is something on youth issues that was addressed in Sussex, decades ago. Basically it comes to be that the wife of our county board supervisor in Waukesha County decades ago was involved in this community service element, and developed, later what I would learn is a little bit of a collective impact style, but it was really complete, and it is complete. What is going on, where our school district runs, a community summit twice a year, where we get the appropriate players around the table. And I think this group, my opinion is, group needs to grow, instead of just being these key people, let more people in the community know what's going on, and make it a bigger community element. But that's where Helpopedia is coming in, to let the school district just keep facilitating this twice a year summit, and then have an element like Helpopedia, where all this appetite for more can be satisfied. And so that's what we're doing with our friends, is we're saying, take a look at what we're doing with Helpopedia, and let's see if that has any meaning to what's going on with your family. Now, we have an independent living center, or we have an independent living center, but I really meant to say an assisted living business, a residential place with assisted living services there. And the one gentleman in management said, well, what about if our residents could serve these students, where we connect them, like we're talking about this on a Zoom meeting, and we're like, great idea. Now, actually, days prior to him saying that, that was something that I said, because there's programs like RSVP in the USA, where it's Retired Senior Volunteers Program. And there's like big brothers, big sisters. So what's stopping a senior citizen from being a big brother or big sister? And in our Hamilton School District out in Sussex, you go to the website and you can find that there's, a senior student program that the Hamilton School District is facilitating. So this concept is not new. It's just a matter of, we might say it's underutilized, and it can come into play a lot more than what's happening. So again, Helpopedia is having a whole bunch of meetings throughout the month with our Hamilton chapter. We're meeting regularly on Fridays at 9 a.m. on Zoom. So basically that's available to everybody to to connect in. It's an open invitation, aspect. So, so it's just getting the conversations going. That community dialogue is just so key. And then what we're able to do towards the realm of special education for any bullying that's there is just great. And I'm just excited to be a part of it, all the possibilities. And there's enough going on with it that I put on the LinkedIn a post for a job, and like calling out for marketing assistants. And so what happens is, this gentleman by the name of Dimitri answers the call to this, and he comes onto a meeting that we have, a regular weekly meeting with our friend Jennifer A. Whitaker, with Jen's Books and More, and with the Jaws Coffee Chat series, with all the podcasting she's doing. We just had a wonderful team meeting. Dimitri had his first day, stuff cultivated like within the last day of business here. And so Dimitri, I want to have you come in here and, we're kind of throwing you to the fire here, throwing your feet to the fire, and
Yeah.
just putting you on the hot seat for some, candid remarks and kind of what you're skimming off of the surface so far. But you're a digital marketer, you deal with keywords and, all that. So we're talking community organizing. We're talking disability advocacy. We're on community radio here, River West Radio, one of the finest, community radio stations that you'd ever see on planet Earth. I'm actually scheduled with another community radio station in Australia on Mother's Day at 11 p.m. of it, all things because of the time there in Australia. So this is really great work. And what you do, Dimitri, is like to say key, thinking of keywords and hashtags and looking at your Facebook strategy and, the stuff that you do. You want to speak to that a little bit, just in general terms, the work that you do in digital space, and then what it means for people who want real social results, with it, like real agency and, for families getting service. How does it all tie together when you look at all the landscapes out there, like being on the website of riverwestradio.com or being on the River West Facebook page and, having all these dialogues? How do you tie that together, Dimitri?
Honestly, with digital marketing, you want your landing page, which is your website. You want it engageable. You want it user friendly, and you want it to, pretty much get to the point of what you're actually offering or what you're presenting. You don't want it to be, too long because you'll lose interest. You don't want it to be, certain colors that you use in your website actually matter to grab attention. To me, it's just a online version of sales and marketing. So, I mean, we're virtual now, but I mean, we're kind of face to face. So, I mean, there's 3 steps to a sale. You have to like the person. So is the website, user friendly? Is it engageable? You have to trust the person. Is there social proof there? Is it credible? Things like that. Pretty much, is it, legit? Pretty much they want to feel comfortable with you. And once they trust you, that's when they buy from you. So it's pretty much just a 3-step process. They like you, they trust you. If they trust you, they buy from you. That correlates to the website just being, user friendly, engageable. It's relevant with the keywords, making sure your copy is on point. I don't know what else to say, man. That's pretty much it.
All right, so Sue, come back in here. I was just sharing your Google slides earlier with our story, which includes what we're doing here with River West Radio and everything that we've been talking about, for all these years, and trying to think what we're up to now. We're closing in on our 7th year of doing this program, aren't we? So that's a lot of hours we spent with, the crew here at River West. So obviously we're passionate about it, and we do what we do in pre and post production. We're going to get more training after this show, so there's just never too much diving in and sharpening your pencil and sharpening your skills. And so, Sue, speak to this a little bit. When we are dealing with that, we have this tremendous, SoundCloud with River West Radio, and we have our show page here at riverwestradio.com, and you're putting the descriptions in there and you're sharing it out with, other people who are kind of in our collaborations around this show. Speak to this from your standpoint, Sue. When you're sitting at the computer and you're dealing with our Facebook page and, our YouTube and, whatever else we're doing to share that we're AbilityMKE Now, with what Dimitri said, what are you doing when you're typing at the keyboard and clicking the mouse? And then what did Dimitri inspire for you?
So what we end up doing is having, back up, actually on River West Radio's website, there's a tab for shows, and lucky for us, alphabetically, we're right at the top there. AbilityMKE Now shows up right at the top. When you go into our show page, it has a list of all of our shows from throughout history and the description that we end up providing. And typically when I'm doing descriptions, I try to do a little bit of what is the content, but I try to keep it a little bit of a tease so that people want to actually hop in and find out more. Not that I give them the entire meat of what the conversation was in those couple sentences.
Gotcha.
And then we do our best to share that all out in with YouTube and Facebook, and just to get it out there. I know you were saying some comments about even if I was saying earlier, as far as the Helpopedia webpage, how they have their color scheme and everything set for those who have visual impairments, that it's optimized for them as well. That's the kind of stuff that I don't think I've ever had. Well, I know I have no history in understanding what that looks like. I'm aware of it, but to understand what to do and how to do that, that's a whole nother level that I still am on a learning curve for. And I don't know, with what you do, is that a piece? I know having it be trying to combine all those pieces to have that the landing page be attractive, be inviting, be the things it needs to be for people to want to learn more. With what you're doing so far, have you had to incorporate much, or have you incorporated concepts of how would this be best serving those that have visual impairments? Is that something that's part of what you guys normally do?
I pretty much got I would get like a second hand. They would, just want my opinion. Pretty much I would do like a test run. We would do split tests, but I mostly just handle the headlines, the descriptions, the copy, and like I said, the ranking with the Google keywords, making sure the keywords are relevant, because that's pretty much what you're competing with, other competitors, and you want your ad to be at the top of the list on the Google search.
Excellent. Yeah, that's again a topic I'm slowly learning more about. I know I've even been dabbling over into the world of Etsy and all that, and in order to be found on there too, you need to understand that whole search engine optimization and all these things that I've never thought about before. So that's where it's nice to have a team involved with whatever anybody is doing. That's a big chunk of the concept of what we do with AbilityMKE Now is nobody knows everything, and having a team of people and having resources around to understand, I don't know what I don't know, until somebody mentioned the whole concept of, hey, visually impaired, if you have a visual impairment, having a color scheme and whatnot that is optimized for those that have that makes a difference. Until somebody mentioned that thought never crossed my mind, because that's not something I've dealt with before. So that's where I hope that with this program, we're able to make that kind of difference for others, where they don't have to learn things the hard way, that they can actually have these ideas and thoughts right in front of them without having to stumble over them. Exactly. And to say, oh, this didn't work for this person. I had no idea. I wish I would have done it different to start with, So actually, Kurt, I'm going to pop this back over to you. Do you have any further thoughts on this?
Well, yeah, there's a lot to be said for, how stuff like this gets overlooked, because a lot of our community activists and, people in volunteer groups, they don't have these, skill sets or maybe the interests, in it, but yet it makes a difference. And again, this is kind of the area of my passion that, I look to serve, because when I, served with Independence First as an independent living center, or I'm looking at what's going on in the disability resource centers and stuff like that. I mean, over in Waukesha County, I inspired that our Aging and Disability Resource Center would have a marketing person, and playing into the social media and whatever else is happening these days, because, quite simply, it's this build it and they will come, mantra that doesn't always work out for people. And so a lot of times these great missions get halted a little bit. They don't really gain any momentum. Like, let's look at what we did with water skiing. I sit there and I'm like, okay, we're gonna put a boat out, got the ropes, and we got the ski and the volunteer skiers and everything ready to go. And then you look at, like, we have like 78 people show up, and it's like, well, we could have had 28 people. What do we got to do? So it's all on this marketing side. So it's very important to position this. And I kid a lot of times about Visa. People say, Kurt, you're everywhere. I'm like, yeah, I'm like Visa, everywhere you want to be. And that's what some of this digital strategy is about, is you know, in marketing, we learned that as the moment of truth. When somebody is doing, you know, what they need to do to find what they're looking for, you're either in it or you're not. And so that's where Dimitri's trade is very powerful, because he's helping us. So when we're having people out there working the keyboard, working their mouse, working the Windows, working the, you know, Apple systems, whatever, either a thing is there, either a water skiing program is there or not, either the invite for coming on River West Radio and being on this tremendous show for AbilityMKE Now is there or it's not. You know, so that's what I have to say about it. And then I want to give a specific application as an example. So there's like this global phenomenon that's something that happens every year. There's a chance that there's this one day a year that we can celebrate, and it's with somebody that's part of our team. You know, Emily Gomer, she has this day that's, you know, to be put on everybody's calendar, April 4th. So if we wanted the world to know that Emily Gomer is celebrating her big, you know, anniversary of being born, you know, April 4th every year, you know, how would we go about it? You know, how do you know, tie into that though, when somebody's sitting at home, and then what it could be to participate in this, you know, global phenomenon, and, you know, to be a part of what Emily is doing online and everything. You know, how do you market that? You know, Emily, you got any thoughts?
Well, I think it's already been all promoted through LinkedIn and Facebook. Because it's also the same day of our Wisconsin Minnesota meeting from the Happy Neighborhood Project. So there's been some mention on some people's posts about it being my birthday. So that's one way.
Excellent. And for those that are not familiar with HNP, Happy Neighborhood Project has been a big component in things that we've been doing in the recent couple of years. And that actually the networking that we've done through that organization has actually blessed us with a huge number of our guests on this show, and the amount of expertise that's come in and all the fun that we've been able to share with our connections through that has been pretty huge. So yeah, actually Kurt, Emily, and I are all co-hosts in that group, and it's called Wisconsin Minnesota, but it goes beyond that. It's actually worldwide. But this is basically all of us who are hosts are based here in Wisconsin and Minnesota. So, and that's something that is a lot of fun. It's all about networking and who knows who, and getting a chance to make those connections. So that's where, yeah, next Tuesday, the extra icing on the cake, quite literally, being her birthday. It'll be a fun one. So definitely looking forward to that. I just wanted to give a huge thanks to Dimitri for joining us here tonight. I hope you'll be able to join us again, and I'm looking forward to having a chance to have more conversation with you and get to know you more. Kurt, thanks as always for all you're doing, and even like with the Helpopedia piece, for being the spur in making that all happen here locally and making a difference, because we're all about making a difference here in the community, and what Helpopedia is and does is going to make a difference and already has, and will continue. And I look forward to seeing what's next, because it's all good that's coming down the road. So as always, for us here at AbilityMKE Now, my name is Sue Roskoff, and we're so glad to be here. And as always, we thank you.
Thank you.
All right.